In PT examination, there are questions coming from all different areas, and then it is impossible for you to assume that you would ever know all of them. Nobody knows everything. I mean, that includes somebody like me also, who has spent so much of time. Still, I cannot know all the answers that they expect us to know in the question. But then it is relatively, you have to know more than what others do, and that's where the differentiator lies. An important point I want to make here is that it is not that the ones that you do not know. You do not know. I mean, there are some area which you don't know, there's some area others don't know, and then they cancel each other. But what you know, you must not commit mistake. And that's the real point that I want to make here today. That why people commit mistake. For the questions, they should have gone correct. And that is a differentiator in the success ultimately. People, when they know something and still are not in a position to really score for those questions, and they come home and then look at the question and feel that, hey, this is a mistake I made. In fact, in today's video, I would like to tell you about the reasons why people are making mistakes for the questions they should have gone correct, and ensure that it doesn't happen to you. One reason I can find is anchoring bias. When you are stuck with the initial part of the question, when you read some statement and then your mind gets stuck there only. At this stage, I'm not giving you examples, because I'm going to take you through multiple examples of this nature when we talk about PT Shala, starting on 21st of October, free course at 9 p.m. live. But then I like to tell you that anchoring bias is that when your mind gets stuck to certain part of the question, and then you are not in a position to come out of it while the question demanded something else. And that could be one factor why people commit mistakes for the questions they knew. Also, there's some kind of confirmation bias also. Let me first talk about the biases that we have got. Sometimes there's something which is vaguely occurring to your mind, and you thought that is the correct fact, that is the point that I should be looking forward to, and that is basically that vague information that was existing in your mind is possibly responsible for you to kind of get stuck there and feel that this is the right answer. That could be also. Sometimes heuristics plays its own trick. The trick heuristics plays is that where your mind first gives a signal, and then that signal, and if you are not trained your minds to heuristically produce correct answer, you end up committing mistake. Another cause is that you have not been sensitive about the dark patches of your preparation. That means you prepared for a particular topic, you haven't done enough answers on that. So there's one facet of that fact which remained dark. Let's say you studied fundamental right, but some case law interpretation of a particular article of the Constitution, the Fundamental Right Part 3, you ignored. And then you have a broad idea of fundamental right, and based on that, missing out on the interpretation part, you would find that your answer goes wrong because of that dark patch that you had, and you did not do enough practice to know your dark patch in time. Another point can be, sometime we do some superficial reading. If you do not go deep into the question's demand, your knowledge is superficial, your reading is superficial, and that's a double whammy. That's absolutely a double whammy that people have got, and that could also be a reason why people knowingly commit a mistake. And that is one thing I want you to be, in fact, warn you on this. Also, sometimes when you are at home and you find that, yes, this answer is so simple and I should have picked up this, why did I pick it? It's largely because you have got performance pressure. Stakes are very big. So quite often, when you have not trained yourself on the retrieval mode, then in that case what happens is that the mind is not used to producing the right answer under the pressure. So it is very important that you have take your mind through those entire process so that you do not break under the pressure that you have got. Otherwise, it's quite possible that your thought process will cave in when the pressure comes in the examination, especially towards the last part of the test that you have got, last part of the exam that you have got, when the pressures are high, and then your mind is little tired, and then you have not practiced enough to take yourself through the entire thing. There's another reason, is internalization mismatch, I call it. What I mean by internalization mismatch is that you have read the question, but you did not understand the mind of the examiner. And if you did not understand the mind of the examiner, there's a possibility that this internalization mismatch can possibly sort of take you to the wrong option. And don't forget, UPS is not asking difficult question. For quite a few years I've seen that. They are giving difficult choices. One has to be very clear that you are mentally getting the demand of the question. You've internalized the questions well, so that you know what is being demanded, and then you can pick up the actual correct answer. Another factor which I find is why people take up the wrong answers in the examination hall is because of what we call it as metacognition factor. When I say metacognition factor, I basically mean you do not know enough yourself. You do not know what kind of risk quotient you have got. Imagine, this is the zone in which you have to take risk. You have to take risk, don't forget it. If you do not take risk, at all, that means you are not getting into that zone where the cutoff is existing. And if you take risk beyond this, then again there is a problem. So what happens is that you have to know yourself, this signal of my mind gives me correct answer, and this is beyond this, I take risk and then it goes wrong. So it is very important to know your own risk quotient. You have to do some metacognition. You have to know your own self. You have to think about your thought. Ask your mind, by looking at all the answers which have gone wrong, hey, what was going on in my mind when I took up this option? If your mind says, this was what you thought, but this is a wrong thought. So you have to spend your time multiple times, several times, and then your mind would learn that, hey, these kind of signals which my mind produces is a wrong one and I should not take it. I like you to do this exercise on a regular basis. Every time when you do the test, every time you look at the answer which has gone wrong, which could have possibly gone right, at that stage, I would like you to think in your mind, what was my thought process? Think about that thought. Nobody can teach you. I'd like you to keep this in your mind. Nobody can ever teach you. You have to go for this metacognition. You have to know your thought process, and then you would know that, hey, these kind of thought processes, this kind of thought, this kind of thinking, this line of thinking was not right. So I better not take this at all. So this is one exercise which is very important. People, what happens, they normally look at the right answer and leave the remaining. I like you to look at the wrong answer and then ask yourself why it has gone wrong, and then that will definitely help. Another thing why people knowingly commit mistake is because they are not crystallized as far as their thought process is concerned. They have some vague heuristic kind of image in their mind, and based on that they will pick up the choices, take risk more than required. And when they take risk more than required, what happens is that they start collecting negative marks for themselves. That's not a good news. That should not happen. So what I basically like you to do is that the areas from where you are committing regular negatives, you should go on revising those areas more. Because if you do not know, you can pardon yourself, because you can never know everything. But those you know, you better know it so crystallized that whatever question being asked, you are in a position to really answer that. And that is one thing I would like you to do. Spend time with the negative answers. Get to know what is my thought process, what was going on in my mind. And then spending 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes on that negative question will save you lots of negatives that may have happened. So this metacognition factor really works. Also, sometimes this priming effect is also there. A lot of people cram a lot of things towards the close of the examination. So what happens, whatever is there on the top, that gives signal and then you take it. So it is very important that you have a long plan for preparing for PT. Let your thought process develop, evolve, crystallize to such an extent that you are in a position to really answer them effectively. And for that, we have launched at KSG a free course starting on 21st of October, where every evening, 5 days a week, I am going to be live on YouTube telling you about these small things and cover this entire domain of PT preparation over a long period of time, so that the crystallization of thought is there. You understand those techniques not when you are very close to the examination, but you have understood those techniques at a time when you could possibly internalize and use it. So, love to see you just a few days ahead, 21st of October, 9 p.m. on our UPSC channel that we have got at KSG, and I'll be very happy to guide you with all these small details that we need to be working upon. Looking forward to seeing you on 21st of October, 9 p.m. live, where I can possibly take you questions also and then have them answered. All the best.